Hey everyone, it's Martin Ross, and today we're on part 3 of making a beat without a computer, but you know the drill. Before we get into it, please check out those links in the description. I do have a sound library called Zource that has all these samples, so check that out. Also, most important, if you like the video, hit the like button. Also, I know you're probably coming here from a search, and if you're a subscriber, I love you. But if you're on a search, hit that subscribe button and click the bell so that way you get instant updates straight to your device. So let's cut to the chase. So we're into the beat, and right now, to make this video a little bit faster, I've already recorded up to 4 tracks. So I'll go through and solo with the drums of what I've done. I've also got patterns installed on here. So essentially, if you watched my second video, you know where I'm at. And now this is the point where we're making the beat. All right, forgive me if you hear the train in the background. I do have a train station near the house. So the first track I want you guys to hear is the piano. Also, I've got the drums soloed with the beat. I run that for 4 bars. Next, I got my polysynth. The piano is on top of these chords. This is my bass. And this is my synth there. I'm going to do another synth lead, and then we're going to put this into the DAW, and you'll see the rest of the work. Making sure I'm on my track that I want to record. And that's what I want. So I went ahead and I looped that track. Actually, I'm going to loop this every 8 bars. So if you have the Korg Kronos, there's no such thing as a cue list. So I will build this song later, obviously to save time. But this is the general idea of the song with the drums. Back after that. Hey, so now I like the beat. I feel that the beat is ready for recording. Again, this is going to be as quick as possible so you get the idea. I'll do more videos on this, but getting to brass tacks here, this is what we're doing. I'm now going to make the DAW the controller because previously the Korg Kronos controlled everything. Now the DAW MIDI out is going into the drum MIDI in. But we're going to change it from here. We're going to take the through and put it into my workstation. Reason being is I don't want to send MIDI note codes to the keyboard so it'll play on those notes. I don't want to do that. I'll avoid that by going through the through. All through does is copy the MIDI data to the next device in line. Warning here, you want to make sure that all your devices is set to external MIDI. Now, for this drum machine, it's very basic. I just switched to MIDI, and it's controlled by whatever is the master clock. For my Korg Kronos, for any keyboard that has, sequencer, make sure you go to your MIDI settings, your global MIDI settings, and set it to external. That allows you to control it from anywhere else. Another tip, if you have a drum machine like I believe it's the Korg Voca, and it only has 1 MIDI port, that will be the end of the line of MIDI routes. So you wouldn't put the drum machine in between the DAW and the sequencer. You'd probably put it at the very end after the sequencer. So it would go, the other way would go DAW, sequencer, drum machine. For me, it's DAW, drum machine, sequencer, just because of the vicinity of the room and ease of use. So with further ado, I'm going to make my connections work, and I will show you what I'm doing. Okay, so now that we are moving on to recording into the DAW, 2 things we have to make sure. We have to make sure that our tempo matches the tempo of our song. You could find that in your global settings, but unfortunately in the D3200, you actually have to go to your session drums. You have to go to your pattern map. And at the tempo track, you have to change your BPM there. Now, I don't need to do any tempo changes, so just leaving it as a default 130 is what I want. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go to my system global system settings, and I'm going to make sure that the MIDI sync is set to MIDI clock master. Once again, my DAW is sending an out to the in of my drums. My drums is sending through to the in of my keyboard. And I've set both of the drum machine and the keyboard to external MIDI sync. What that means is if I hit this play button, we should hear some music. Hey, so now we're moving on to pretty much recording our session here. So just to recap, we are using our MIDI out of our DAW to the MIDI in of our drum machine. Now on our drum machine, we're using the through to the in of our sequencer. I'm using through because I want to copy the signal. I don't want to send MIDI notes to the machine because the machine already has signal or notes or samples being played through that. I'd like to reiterate that normally I would insert one measure of nothing, and then on the second measure we play the song. But because I want to make the video quicker, I'll cut it later. But the whole point is as soon as I hit play, there is a bit of a lag. So by the time the second measure arrives, it's caught up. So just be aware that I will be cutting out the first two measures of this song before we actually play it back. Okay, so now we are going to record this to the DAW. What we are going to do is we've already got our drum machine in line. Next is our recording our song. We are recording the outs 1, 2, 3, 4 to inputs 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, so on and so forth. And what I'm going to do is I can only record 2 tracks at a time. So you know what that means? I have to play this song over and over and over again until I record all the mixes. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that I have to play the song start to finish to record onto the deck. I know everybody with a studio DAW is super like, oh wow, like I just right click and I export. Well, what they normally do is they zoom the song super fast, make it play super fast, and then they pitch it back down to the normal tempo. So that's why when you're recording or exporting your DAW wave files, it'll say like exporting at 2.4 times, right? Well, what it is it's speeding up the record process, and then it pitches it back to a regular pitch, so that way it sounds like it was never sped up. So if anybody wants to know the trick on that, that's how it's done. But because we're going old school, I'm recording to my DAW. Now we're going into recording. Now this is where the DAW is kind of like it's Henderson. I'm only allotted per each track. I'm only allotted a total of 8 effects. That's including mono and stereo. So if I'm using 8 mono tracks, and then I can use a total of 4 stereo tracks because it covers 8. So you have to make a decision in your sequencer where you could edit the EQs, which I did there, or you could do it in post on the track, or you can edit the input so it records the edit after, meaning that, for example, I want to use a compressor now, and I'll do a double compressor later. So while my track is set to input, it will record a compressor, and then I could set it to track, which means post. I can then edit that after. So you're very limited here, folks. This is where hardware recording becomes really inefficient, in my opinion. But this is how we did it in the past. So I'm not going to do any automation or anything like that. I'm going to record the beat now, and then I'm going to do all the mixing and editing within these effects, and then I'm going to post the finished result. So I'm going to show you how I record it, and let's record it. All right, so now we're in the part where I've set my Korg channels to 9, 10, 11, 12. I like the levels that I got. I'm going to make sure that the levels that I have are good. Make the cord a little bit hot so I can have more control. So now I'm gonna hit the record button, and then as soon as I'm done, I hit the play and it'll record the tracks. I'm gonna speed this up for you as I know you guys want a fast video. So now what I'm gonna do is hit the play button, and I'm gonna record those tracks. All right, so I kind of went with the 64 bars off the sequencer. The drum machine's not gonna know that because it's just set to loop. So that's when you have to learn to control your sequence and edit when you're done. So during this recording, I was switching through the patterns while I listened to the beat. Now I'm going to speed this up and record all the tracks again, but now because I'm happy with the recording of my drums, they're now set to post, right? And now I'm going to record the next 2 channels with the next sounds. So I'm going over to my machine again. I'm going to get rid of the next 2 channels, and then I'm going to put the next 2 channels again from 1, 2, 3, 4 on the next sounds. Now, as you saw in the previous video, I've already configured these inputs to the tracks. So when I hit play, all we're going to hear now, let me just reset these faders, is the drums in post and the next sounds. So we're gonna do this again. I'll speed through there for you guys. Okay, here we are. Everything from my Korg RD-8 has been recorded in my DAW. It took me about 5 minutes, 6 minutes after the first recording. Just be understanding that if you have a 3-minute song, and let's say you have 5 stereo tracks and you can only record 1 stereo track at a time, 3 minutes, 1 stereo track at a time, 5 times is 15 minutes right there. So that's the limitations of having a DAW-less, a computerless system. You have to use hardware DAWs. Obviously, when you go in your software and stuff, once you finish your beat, you just hit the export button. But in this process, we actually have to do our pre-leveling, we have to do our fading, we have to do our gain structure. We have to make sure that we have room in our DAW to add compression and stuff like that, because I'm only given 8 post effects. So that means that if I use a stereo compressor, then I'm now down to 6 post effects for each individual tracks. Just be aware that it was a lot harder in the days to do this, but I felt you made more of a conscious effort to make your sound more creative. I believe that. And you found ways to make your sounds hit harder before it got into the DAW. You would do, like I did on the Korg, I would do my effects there. If I was super happy with that effect, I would keep it, throw it on here, and then do my EQing structure or my additive or subtractive effects on the track there. And again, gave myself headroom to record. So without further ado, we're going to play our song. And I'm happy with the mix. There is some EQing I can do later, but I'll do that after the video. But essentially, this is our song. It's being literally played by this DAW. It's not being played by a computer. There's no mouse or keyboard here. It's literally recorded here. And you would do all your editing on this little screen here. And then I have this little CD-ROM drive here. I don't want to show the CD, but there's a CD in here. But you would put your blank CD in there, and you would export it to a CD, and you would send it for mastering from there. That was pretty crazy for me. I thought that was amazing. Times have changed now, so now you can just go in your DAW, hit that export button down, and yeah, you have your song. All right, this was Martin Ross making a beat without a computer, PC, Mac, laptop, whatever. This was a 3-part series. I'm going to be doing more videos on this. I really am hesitant about showing mixing because everybody mixes differently, and I just don't want to battle with people about how to mix. I normally try to be open-minded with mixing and stuff like that. Obviously, there's hard and safe rules, and there's guidelines, which is not rules, but in particularly how you want to do your own mix. So if you have any questions, leave questions in the comment. Most important, hit the like button if you like the video. And also, if you're still here at this point in the video, just go ahead and subscribe. What are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. I know you stalk on me. I know you like my looks. I'm just kidding. But I really appreciate you for checking this out. I hope you got some informative information on making a beat without a PC or Mac or whatever you want to call it. Again, check out those sounds if you like them. The links are in the description. And again, this is Martin Ross teaching you how to make a beat without a computer. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.